Hi, this is Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to our project of the month, number 31, our visor cover. The first thing we want to do is get our supplies together. I have used Floriani's Wet and Gone Tacky Stabilizer and Floriani's Wet and Gone Tacky tape. I used half an inch or quarter of an inch Floriani's tape. We want Floriani Stitch and Shape single side fusible stabilizer and Floriani's new embroidery perfection tape. You're going to love this. This tape is an inch wide. It's extremely tacky, so you can tape stuff down, hold stuff out of the way, and it will leave absolutely no residue, but it is tacky enough never to pop up. Recently, I've used the blue painter's tape. The issue is it doesn't always stay stuck. And when you do take it off, there is a little bit of residue left on your fabric. So with the Floriani's new embroidery perfection tape, there is no residue whatsoever, and it's nice and tacky, so it holds very well. Now this tape is intended to tape stuff down, hold stuff out of the way, but it is not intended to be stitched through. That is why we are using both types of tape today in our project. We've also got fabric. Now I purchased a faux leather at Hobby Lobby, and it's just a really pretty tooled looking faux leather fabric. You are going to purchase enough fabric to make a front and a back visor cover. Now this is all going to depend on the size of your visor, and that will also depend on the size of your hoop. So I cannot give you a perfect measurement for the fabric, but if you bought half a yard of fabric, you would have plenty for this project. The first thing you want to do is measure your visor. Now keep your hoop size in mind, like I said before, because when deciding the size of your visor cover, that's going to be critical, because this is not a project that could be rehooped. So measure the width and the height of your visor, or the area you're going to put your visor cover on. Go ahead and fuse your fabric to the back of your Floriani Stitch and Shape single side fusible. Now this is a wonderful product. It starts out as a 12-inch polyester loft. We needle punch it down to its thickness, so it is meant to be needled. But whenever you need to put something in a project to make it stiff, such as a purse or a visor cover, a placemat, paper dolls, anything that you need a little bit of strength in there, Stitch and Shape is what you want to go to, because it does not have a memory, so if you fold it or crease it, you don't have to worry about that being a problem. It will wash, it will dry, and it will press. So it is a fantastic product when you need to put a little stiffness inside any kind of object. And another thing that it will do is if you embroider directly on it, such as paper dolls, you can use your Floriani heat cutting tool to cut it out, because it is a polyester. So we are going to fuse this to the wrong side of our fabric. Now since I used a faux leather, I obviously was not going to press it from the fabric side. I was very, very happy with how well this fused using it from the Stitch and Shape side. So I fused this on. Now I'm going to cut two identical pieces from your fused fabric piece now. Now my visor was 12 inches in width and 5.5 inches in height. Now let's go ahead and cut out the rest of our pieces. I want you to cut two of your Velcro strips. Now I used Get a Grip Velcro. One side of it is the hook, the other side is the loop. You may be familiar with this when you see how you get a computer cord or something and it's the one that wraps around itself and Velcros to itself. You can buy it at your office supply stores. Now I bought 3/4 of an inch wide, and you're going to cut this now the height of your visor plus 2 more times, because remember, this is going to Velcro around. So let's say your visor is 5 inches high. I would go ahead and cut my tape 15 inches, my Velcro, because if it's too long, I can trim it. But however, if it's too short, I can't add it on. So go ahead and cut it 3 times the width of your visor. Then I want you to cut out your 1 inch wide knit elastic pieces. Now this stuff is great. It's very strong. It's nice and soft, and you can get it in all kinds of colors. So that was a real plus for me. Now I did use gray for this project so that there would be a contrast so you could see what I was doing. I would have probably picked a matching elastic for this project. I would have picked black on mine. Now you're going to cut to the length of your visor, or the width, and you're going to cut for the height of your visor minus 1/8 of an inch. So if my visor is 12 inches wide, I'm going to cut it at 11 7/8. That means it's a 1/16 of an inch shorter on each side. That way, when I stitch my final stitch down, it'll catch all those edges very nicely, and I don't have any sticking out. So it looks really, really nice that way. So get all that cut and prepared so we can go ahead and start our stitching out our project. We are going to hoop our Floriani Wet and Gone Tacky Stabilizer. Now it has a protective paper side on top of the tacky. That's going to go up. That shiny paper is going to be facing you in the hoop. Then you're going to score the paper and peel it away from the inside of your hoop, and you'll have a nice tacky surface. Now this is a water-soluble product, and that's what we're looking for within this project. Now you're going to go ahead and put your hoop on your machine and stitch out your placement line. Once your placement line has been stitched out, your machine is going to stop. Now if you have a multi-needle machine, remember to tell the machine to stop. You can either hit reserve stop and let it stop when this step is over, or you could have programmed in your stop. Now we're going to take our fabric piece that's been fused to our stitch in shape, and we are going to stick it down inside these lines so we've got perfect placement. Once it has been stuck down, we are then going to go ahead and stitch it down, because remember, we created that tackle twill stitch and we manipulated it. So now this is what's going to catch the edges of our front visor piece and hold it firmly to our hoop. Then we will stitch out our design next. Once that is completed, we're going to go ahead and stitch out the placement line for our Velcro. Now this has a hook side and a loop side. We're going to put it hook side up. The fuzzy side is going down next to the visor. And of course we are going to center this so we've got our pieces to Velcro around the back of our visor. Now I took the Floriani's Wet and Gone Tacky Tape, and I want you to tape this down. Now what I've done is I have taped it down so that I've held it over the placement lines, but I want it outside enough to keep those from flopping back over and getting caught under the stitch, because you've got these two pieces sticking out that are going to Velcro around the back. So go ahead and put those on both ends. Of course, your placement lines will stitch out first. The machine will stop. Place your Velcro down, tape it down, and go ahead and stitch that steel stitch down the center that we manipulated in our software to hold these firmly to your visor front piece. Once we've completed that step, we are now going to remove our hoop from our machine. And we're going to turn the hoop over so the back of the hoop is looking at you. We're going to take that second piece that we cut, and this is our visor back. We're going to place it over that same placement line we used originally to put our front piece down. And we're going to take our Wet n Gone Tacky tape and tape this down around the edge. Now notice I have just put the tape barely over the edge. I just want to hold this on securely, but I want my finished stitch to kind of stitch over this tape on the edge of my visor, the inside edge of the back and front piece. Now if it extends a little bit, it doesn't matter because this is water soluble, and we're going to take it off when we're finished. We'll take one of those little foam craft paint brushes and just kind of scrub it with a little water, and it will come off. But I'm hoping for my stitches to cover the one that's inside the visor piece. Now tape this firmly down, turn your hoop back over to the front, and now we're going to take our Embroidery Perfection tape. I am so happy with this new tape. I mean, I can hold a onesie out of the way in the hoop. It's just fantastic. So what we're going to do is we're going to place our elastic pieces on the top where they look attractive. We don't want to cover up our design, and we're going to go ahead and weave them. Now, I will make sure that two of my pieces, the short pieces that are doing the height of our visor, we're going to cover those two pieces of Velcro we've put on. So they will be hidden because this elastic is 1 inch wide. Our Velcro was 3/4 of an inch wide. This will cover the elastic nicely. Now notice I have taped it down at all the intersections and taped it real nice down to the visor. Because remember, this won't leave any residue. Now I didn't tape it on the very edges where the stitches are going to come in, because remember, you don't stitch through the Perfection tape. We don't stitch through it because it's not intended for that. It's got a different type of adhesive on it. We're now going to wind a bobbin with the same color of thread that we have in the top. We're going to match the embroidery thread to the bobbin. And now we're going to stitch out our final satin stitch. That steel stitch that we manipulated. Now remember, we made that pretty wide because remember, we're going to zig on the visor, zag into the Wet n Gone Tacky as it goes around. So we've got this, and you notice, you can see in my picture where my elastic is close to the edge, and I'm sorry, let's go back a frame. See how my elastic is close to the edge right here? But it's not all the way to. So that's what I was talking about, putting it next to the edge but not all the way through. Now let's go ahead and move back to the next slide. Now we're going to go ahead and stitch out our final satin stitch. And that is going to stitch out all the way around. You've noticed on my back how beautifully it covered my Wet n Gone Tacky tape because I didn't tape it up real high. I will pull off my Floriani Embroidery Perfection tape. It will leave positively no residue. Then I'm going to very carefully cut my Wet n Gone Tacky from away. I'll remove it from the hoop and cut around. And the reason I say very carefully is because you want to make sure you don't cut through your Velcro strips. And if you just start going, you'll get them. So cut it carefully away, moving your Velcro strips out of the way. And we want to cut it close to the satin stitch, but make sure not to trim off any of your satin stitch. Just right outside. Once you've done that, you're going to take your one of those little foam paint brushes, dip it in some water, and kind of just scrub around the edge of your visor. And the Wet n Gone Tacky tape will go away, and you will be left with a beautiful visor for your car. This Velcros over it, and I have put my cell phone in it, my pen, you can put a notepad, your sunglasses. It's just such a nice, handy little catch-all for inside your car. I love the fact that my phone is there. I can see the screen. It's just very nice. So I hope you've enjoyed our Project of the Month number 31, our visor cover, and I will look forward to seeing you on our next Project of the Month.